Well, hello there and good evening everyone, and welcome to GPVWC's Super League coverage of the British Grand Prix right here at Silverstone, where I'll be camping out in 2 weeks' time for the realsies. My name is Simon Smith, and as ever I'm not alone. For the first time ever as on cameraman extraordinaire is Cameron Brewster, so welcome to you. And back for more, clearly didn't get enough of the sausage Simon first time round, is Matthew Churgwin. How you doing, Matt?
I'm all right, thank you very much. Yeah, looking forward to.
Sorry.
No, looking forward to what should be a pretty good race here at the home of British Motorsport, being Silverstone.
Yeah. Well, and it's already caused a stir up in the qualifying session. Following on from the news that Giuseppe Ranieri, who is one of the people that was in for the title battle this year, has withdrawn from Midnight Motorsports. We have his replacement, semi-replacement anyway, because it will be a seat shared by all, a bit like trampy wife. It will be Alex Cooper, who has gone in. He's gone straight into pole position, which is a fantastic effort on his return to Super League, and he's not been here since last year.
Yeah, a great lap, and my only experience of racing with Alex was in the World GT, and every single race he was absolutely on it. So evidently he's got used to the midnight car pretty quickly, given obviously the situation over there. But no, a great effort, and well, what a way to start the year, or start his championship charge here for pole position. Let's see if he can convert it.
Wow. It is going to be a fascinating one. You can read all about it on the revamped GPVWC website, which is looking rather spiffy, if I do say so myself. If that screen was grindable, I'd be all over it. However, we have 52 laps of high-octane action here at the British track. And what's your view on how it has changed? It's coming up for its 50th year of being raced at Silverstone. And some say the track's never looked better. What's your opinion on it, Matt?
You want to know something? Silverstone is one of those tracks which were born and not made. For sort of bits of, just to read up about the track and event or in advance of the races this week, and I was looking at the history of the place and how at the very first race it was literally a bunch of lads got their cars together and just raced around the old taxiways, because this used to be an airbase used by the British during the Second World War. And amazingly, and I really hope this is true and not the internet lying to me, the very first race, a sheep was killed when it wandered onto the track. Now, I'm not sure about many other racetracks, but I doubt they could claim that. But no, as you say, the track has evolved, it's changed, and this arena style, which was brought in just a few years ago, gives the spectators a bit more to watch and see, gives the drivers a bit more of a challenge. You know, Silverstone's got some amazing high-speed corners. It really does reward bravery and technical ability. And now you've got to think about some low-speed cornering dynamics and things. It really varies things up for the drivers, so getting the car set up properly is a real challenge. So I personally love Silverstone. It's a great track, and I'm sure we're going to get some good racing here today.
Definitely. I'll be sitting down at turn 1 for the real race if anyone fancies to go over and have a hot dog on some of the dirty little cheap food stands. I'm sure I'll be welcome to share some. It's I'll tell you what, I was thinking about that sheep. That must have been some bad driving going on.
Oh dear, done. Love it.
Giuseppe Ranieri, the fired Midnight Motorsport driver, stepping in at Kerno while Lee Morris is still without a decent computer, so it's great to see that he's found a home. He's fastest in warm-up. We'll talk you through the grid as we go down. The championship stand-ins as they are currently at the moment. Lewis Redshaw leads David Fiduk by 14 points, while Fiduk again ahead of Redshaw on the grid this evening. Ranieri sits in third ahead of Heasterbeek and Rowland. Misselis, Vandervoort, Boldy, Morris and Canapino round out your top 10. And it's all been nice and quite tightly knit further down the field. In the constructors, CSG are romping away with 121 points clear from Midnight Motorsports, with Nijo in third, kind of very much on their own, ahead of Red Archer and Hawkeye, battling out with Torrent Motorsports for 4, 5 and 6. Nordzone just 2 points further behind. Vodball Racing are there and thereabouts, with Kerno with their up and down season continuing in 9th. Green Stripes, Phoenix and Target in their own little squabble, just ahead of ST, who have recently started to claw back in some points for some good results. Woods Racing are the 14th team in that, and they don't want to stay there either. Any thoughts or premonitions for the race before we go through the grid, Matt?
So just looking at, obviously, teams of course constantly evolving these cars and picking setups and things to try and suit them for this track. This being high speed, it's interesting to see a few teams are gambling on engines. So we'll have to see if we have any failures, but hopefully we won't. You want to know something? It was all about Midnight and CSG last time out in Austria. I'm sure they're both going to have some strong showings, but
Attention, non-essential personnel leave the grid now.
No, and it was Hawkeye that really surprised me in the name of Harley Hamnet, who's qualified third here this evening. We'll talk you through the grid as they go round on the formation lap. But that Hawkeye has been slowly boiling up over the last few rounds. It's always been there or thereabout, but it's really started to come on song. And all Hawkeye need are just some good, clean races, unlike the weather, and it's raining.
It is. This is a bit of a turn-up. It's been pretty lovely and warm in the UK this week, but, you know, this is the British weather. You will throw a curveball, and, well, we've got a big old curveball off the start by the looks of it. The drivers are feeling brave. I can't see anyone on any wet tyres yet. Let's see if anyone feels they'll take the gamble, jump in some wet.
Very interesting. You can see the spray coming up. It's Alex Cooper then on pole position for Midnight Motorsports going around on the option tyres. I can see some inters and a wet further down. David Fiduk is on option tyres in P2 for CSG. Third is Harley Hamnet, also on the options for Hawkeye, ahead of Lewis Redshaw, fourth on the option tyre. Ruud Heesterbeek is starting on intermediates in fifth position for Nijo, ahead of Nick Rowland, sixth on the option tyre in the Midnight Motorsports. Red Archer's David Misalis is seventh on the options. Then we've got two guys on the inters, Tom Vandervoort in eighth and Gergo Baldi in ninth. And then our first guy, and indeed only guy in the field on wets, and that is Mikhail Tumala, and he is starting what was on 10th position, but he's actually now swapped back to options, so I think he's changed at the very last minute there. 11th is Tommy Hagan, options. Morten Bernenson is 12th on the option compound, and rounding out the top half of the field on inters is Kenny Lybeer for Vodball Racing.
So, following Lybeer there is Giuseppe Ranieri driving for Kerno, as we mentioned a moment ago. Driving the Norton machine is Thomas Jacobs, stepping in at the last moment to replace Toby Davis, who had to take his lead. So Tom jumping up in his reserve role into that P15 Norton car. He's followed by Tommy Covenant, the Green Stripes Racing machine. Danny Asbury follows in the first of the Woods cars. Matt Richard in the second Kerno Sport follows him, and Roy Schroep in the second of the Woods Racing cars following on. Then we have the two Phoenix F1 cars together. We've got Boyd Bryson and Kieran Ryan. They are followed by the two Torrents of Jason Muscat and Petter Kassa in P23, and P24 is Jordan Weeks in the Target Racing car. Then we have the first of the ST Racing cars driven by Calvin Hamza. The two ST Racing cars are split by, I apologise if I get your name wrong here, but Vindulis Columbulis, and I've said that wrong, so my apologies. He's driving. Oh dear, it's all gone wrong. And he's driving the second of the Target cars. And we then have Mark Fuller, our last runner and rider here in P27 for ST Racing.
Well, I found it fascinating that Morten Bernenson has already come into the pits to get off of his inters and has switched to the options. Tom Jacobs is doing the same for his options, as is Matt Richards too. So people are already changing off of the inters, clearly finding that actually the grip is there currently, and it's always a trade-off to see exactly what percentage this rain will be. It could be right hovering on the mark. The last of the cars just getting into the place. Here come the lights then for a soggy start to the evening. The British Grand Prix for GPVWC 2014 Super League is go! Off and away they go. Great start from Roland in sixth, who spun it on the accelerator and clouted into Anijo, who's contact further back with a Fiduk having a go at Cooper. Down to turn one of the Red Arch Hawkeyes going one out wide. That was Boldy, but he's still up into 8th position. Not everyone's gone round. Boyd Bryson's in the wall on the start-finish straight and has lost a wheel, and everyone tippy-toeing round. I can see Lybeer's off the track as well in inters. The inter driver's really struggling, and a Woods facing the wrong way, and that's Danny Asbury as well. So real carnage there on the opening lap, but currently it's still Cooper from Fiduk, then Redshaw, Heesterbeek, Misalis and Hamnet, your top six.
Yeah, unfortunate start there for some of our drivers. Just get caught out. It is wet out there, and of course, as you sit on the grid, these tyres, they will get cold. Always the trade-off is if you can get the tyres nice and hot, you'll be fine in these kind of mixed conditions, but a few drivers not being able to do that, they paid the penalty. And Asbury there, I think he may have a puncture, I'm not sure. He was very slow going through turn one, going into the arena section for the first time, but he is continuing, and he's continuing at a fair rate, so it may have just been a bit of damage, who knows. But he's carrying on now in P21. And a great start, actually, from Kieran Ryan. He's up into P12. He was able to benefit, perhaps, from some of the dramas going on ahead of him.
Indeed, indeed, as they come touring down the back of the straight, is Cooper ahead of Fider. Redshaw's up into third ahead of Heasterbeek. Hamnet and Missilis have just clouted each other coming into Stowe, but have managed to come out of it together, followed by Boldy and Ranieri and Vandervoort are all behind, squabbling away on Inter's tyres. It doesn't look like one's massively pulling away from the other at the moment, so it may be very much a bit of preference as Vandervoort goes and dives past Missilis, who gets on the curb and spins into the wall, smash off the front wing. 8th position, spins round, misses the rest of the field. I've binned it there in a previous league and lost my front wing, so I feel your pain, Davidas. However, let your teammate Hagen through up into 12th position and keep on going like this. Jordan Weeks is in the points for target and they've not scored for a while. This could really be the one for the chances. Boyd Bryson, our single retirement so far, though. He did crash out into the wall at the very start.
Indeed, and another thing to call out actually is Augustin Canapino didn't start the race. He looks like he disconnected during the formation lap, so that's a bit of a drama for him. He didn't score last time out, and now he won't be scoring either. So a great drama there, but the others will stampede on as they come round, or are coming round the old start-finish now. Lap 2.
In Cooper, as they cross the line, a 1.1 second lead then from Fiduk, with Redshaw and Heasterbeek quite close to each other as they filter through the back end through Maggots and Beckett's and that famous complex, as it were. Vandervoort did get ahead of Boldy for 6th and 7th position. Roland then in 8th, Ranieri up to 9, Sumala 10, then Kieran Ryan a great start to 11, Hagen up to 12, Covenant to 13 for Green Stripes. Oh, how he needs a points finish to prove himself. Then it's Jordan Weeks and Kenny Lybeer, with the two torrents of Muscat and Kazza going side by side through that complex. How they've got through that, God only knows. But Redshaw all over the back of Fiduk for 2nd and 3rd. Redshaw had a look there into Club, but didn't really commit to it and has lost out a little bit of time as a result as they cross the line to complete that 2. And someone's off the track somewhere down the field, and that was Tumala, but his rejoin still intact.
So I think we may have the leaders approaching a back marker now. It may be Richards. I'm just trying to find him on the list here. But so he'll have to watch out. But the battle between the two Torrent cars still going as they cross the start-finish line now. And of course, the big golden rule, especially in formula like this, do not take out your teammate. Kassa really hounding the back of Muscat now. He's looking up the inside for P16, and by the looks of it, he's got the job done. But will he be able to get power down or power away from the tight right-hander there? It looks like he's just about done enough. It's all going to be about the exit here onto the Wellington straight down to Bookman, but looks like Cass has got the job done. Looks like he's enjoying these mixed conditions a bit more than his teammate.
Kassa, an old pro, several wins behind his belt. Muscat joining Torrent after Jim Paresis has gone out with injury and getting himself really played back in again after all those years at Red Archer previously. Missilis has pitted, got a new front wing and rejoined in 25th position. So that's interesting to note. And already the people that started from the pit lane with different tyres have already got round Calvin Hermsey, so problems there for the ST driver. Still up front though, it is Cooper, who's now just 0.9 ahead of Fiduk. Redshaw having another look, or a half-hearted attempt, but he's braking on the curb. And I don't know if that's just me or not, but I thought that was a bad thing to do on wet weather conditions.
You have to be very brave, that's for sure. But to me, it looks like these two CSD drivers, they're starting to crank things up a bit. Well, we'll see if they play fair between one another, but they're pulling the gap ever so slightly away now from the Mizo car at Rude Easterbeek. Gap now was up to 2 seconds, it's back down to 1.8. So Redshaw and Fiduk, and he needs perhaps to be a little bit careful. In fact, Easterbeek, he's having a look up the inside as we go onto the Wellington straight here. Redshaw has clearly lost a lot of momentum through that section, and he's going to have to really defend as we go down here into Brooklands.
So here comes Easterbeek having a look. Redshaw saw him coming, give him plenty of room as he steams through, and that is an Inters shod car passing an options car. And I think that may need to be paid some attention as Lybeer gets past Hagen, another Inters passing an options.
Yeah, Heasterbeek is absolutely loving these mixed conditions. The track is getting wetter. You could visibly see the amount of extra grip he had. He was able to just pull away from Redshaw as he was coming out of Luffield. As we now go through Maggots and Beckett, we have to see if he's able to keep that momentum. and get on the back of the gearbox that CSG as we go down the hangar straight. But yeah, certainly, let's keep an eye out on the guys who gambled on the tyres. By the looks of it, that gamble's paying off.
Off your screens, Tom Vandervoort binned it coming through the big right-hander that's named has forgotten me. What used to be turn 1.
Ah,
that
Cops.
one. Cops. It was Cops. Yes, I knew it was Cops. I was about to say Cops, and it sounded wrong. It was Heasterbeek all over the back of Fidek, round that clumsy double right-hander. Slingshots onto the main straight. It'd be a brave man to have a go down to turn 1, but if Fidek doesn't have quite enough momentum through 1 and 2, he can make a lunge down to 3. That looks like exactly what Heasterbeek is doing, and look at the sheer amount of confidence that he has over Fidek and the shorter braking distance. That's another one down. Hamnet onto the back. He's on options. Gergo Boldy has disposed of Roland into 6th position, and he's closing down all of those in front of him quicker than Heasterbeek can get away, as Kenny Libera has spun in 14th position, and that's ruined his Inter's shod run so far for Vodball.
Heasterbeek he took 3 tenths out of Cooper there in the first sector alone. Clearly, these tyres are definitely playing out. Having said that, though, the rain is starting to stop. It's getting a little bit drier. I mean, Heasterbeek maybe... Oh, and he goes well wide through Cops there. He might be all right there to carry on, but he's definitely lost the momentum, and no doubt the gap will have extended to Cooper. But as this track is actually rapidly drying...
it's stopped raining because the back 5 drivers have all come in all at once and changed to option tyres.
And now... I'm sorry to talk over you there. Heasterbeek is being absolutely mugged down the hangar straight. Vidoc's by, Redshaw's by. Evidently, the lack of grip or just a sudden stop of rain has caught Heasterbeek out there. And is he going for the pits? Yes, he is. He's gone right. Okay, this looks like the tyres are going to go away from me.
And Redshaw's gone past Fidek.
Oh, good spot, good spot.
Right the way down into the final turns. Great move there. He'd had a look a couple of times there before, but had been braking on the curve and looking less confident. And look at Hamnet onto the back too. Boldy continues out in the Inters, hoping for a next bit of shower, but Ruud Heasterbeek has pitted, changed to the option tyres. Tom Vandervoort has done the same and has changed to options as well. Week stays out in the Inters in 11th for target. They've not been there for a while. As Boldy's spun in what was 5th position, rejoins in 7th. Roland went off avoiding him too, so real trouble for those that are in amongst everyone else.
As Simon was mentioning there, CSG cars, they're having a battle again. This is all good for spectacle, but meanwhile, Cooper's going to be seeing that in his rearview mirrors and grinning, because it gives him a little bit of breathing room, build up a gap, and with that, you'll be able to start to just put little sectors and things together. You can just forget about the car behind, as Fidek goes quite wide there through Cops, as we saw a lap ago from Heasterbeek. Cooper will be able to just start to make a bit of a gap. He'll be able to start to control his pace, control the pace of the others, and start thinking about pit stops. But it looks like with that little mistake, Vidoc's dropped a second or so off Redshaw now. And let's see if Redshaw, without someone to watch in his rearview mirrors, can make a move on Cooper.
Boldy in 7th position has just gone spinning right the way through the Maggots and Beckett's complex. Rejoined still in 7th position, but clearly you can see how dramatic a dry line has appeared around this circuit as you're watching the other cars go through, and clearly getting one wheel off it, and that spells disaster for you as Fidek is under attack from Hamnet, who's closed right up onto the back and is looking quite racy in that Hawkeye, as he did in quali. 1.8 then the gap from Cooper to Redshaw. Fidek 3rd, Hamnet 4, Roland 5, Ranieri 6, Boldy in the pits from his Inters in 7. He changes over to option. That puts Sumala up into 7th for green stripes, fantastic, ahead of Heasterbeek. Then it's Weeks, Hagen, Ryan, Vandervoort, Casa and Columbus, your point scorers at the moment, as Columbus comes in for a tyre change too.
Yes, I've been keeping an eye on Casa as he's been making his way through, the early point scorers here. He's definitely looking racy. I think he's enjoying these mixed conditions, while everyone else is just keeping an eye on making sure they don't get the tyres too cold or put one little tyre on a curb or a white line, which could spell disaster. Meanwhile, Lewis Redshaw set the fastest lap of the race, 1:33.5 on the last time round. He took 6 tenths out of Cooper on that one lap alone.
Beautiful stuff. We've just lost Tommy Coven, and after a great start, he's crashed it, unfortunately, on lap 5 of 52. He joins Matt Richards and Boyd Bryson as our 3 retirements so far.
Just keeping an eye, it looks to me like Redshaw is gaining on Cooper now that things have perhaps settled down a bit. Vidoc's been able to breach.
Chimala's off.
There you go. So we've got the Hawkeye of Hamnet. He's now, they've all given each other a bit of space, although just out of my view there, it looks like Redshaw may have made a slight error going through the final complex there at Club. And he's got his teammate all over the back of him again. So again, Cooper maybe he's running like a Cheshire Cat as we now go through this arena complex. He's gone deep. He's gone very deep. He's lost one position. He may have lost another one to Harley. And by the looks of it, everyone's being sensible, giving each other room. But disaster for Redshaw. He's gone from second to fourth in 2 corners.
Indeed, and that is not quite worked out for him. They've got Mark Fuller to lap up ahead. And now it becomes difficult as Calvin Hermsley's just disconnected from 24th position. That's another retirement, because when you're lapping people, frankly, Mark Fuller's the full guy there. Now that you've got a clear dry line and a wet line, it's dangerous to come off that dry line to make a concerted effort and a move through. As Jordan Weeks finally pits in the target, he's the last of the people pretty much on the inters to do so. Just Vernonson and Liberian, the Vodballs out there on them. It does become a game of chess of, do I dare move offline now? And if so, do I know what I'm going to arrive at when I break the next time round?
Exactly, and of course this is an endurance event, frankly. It's an hour-and-a-half race. We've got 52 laps. We're only on our 8th here. And is it really worth putting your nose on or down the inside on a wet bit of track which you might not be able to get yourself stopped on? Always perhaps the better decision to think the better of it and just take your time, observe the driver ahead, see where they're strong, see where they're weak, and try and capitalise when you can.
Exactly what's just happened with Tommy Hagan. He's spun in the Luffield section, and that's not helped him out at all. He's dropped down to 11th behind Van der Vault and Ranieri. However, Cooper now really under attack from David Fidek as they lap a Woods car. And that is by far the closest that Fidek has been all evening, and Cooper looks like he's really under pressure as they're coming around to lap. It'll be Beer and Co. Ooh, Fidek has a little look down. He's got to be careful because Harley Hamnet's waiting to capitalise. 3 different constructors in the top 3, and with plenty of traffic to deal with ahead, now's the time to be decisive.
Absolutely, and it's interesting to see all of a sudden Cooper losing so much speed. I doubt it's all because of a single back marker.
Oh, look at
Hamnet. Keep an eye on it. Yeah, Hamnet looking very feisty there, going down towards Pops on this lap 9 of 52. But yeah, we'll have to see how things pan out. Looks like Fidek just had a little look there just to sight Cooper. Of course, the other thing, by just pulling out like that, you just make the driver ahead have to check his mirror to see where you are, and that can just put you out offline, miss your braking point by just a few metres, and that can make all the difference, especially onto a long straight like we are on here, on Hanger Straight, as we move down to Stoke Corner.
All 4 cars separated by a second there as they come down there. Fidek runs out wide and gets caught on the curb. Hamnet chooses not to choose at that moment to attack. Redshaw was having a half a look anyway, so he's probably had one eye ahead and one eye behind and looking like a cross-eyed Australian as they go round to lap poor Muscat. Gets out of the way for one. Will he get out of the way for all 4? Yes, he does. Well done, Jason. So come around to start lap 10 of 52. 20% race distance completed. And oh my goodness, everything to play for.
Absolutely, and
sorry, Boldy is off, and I don't even know where he is. That is just pure grass, but it looks like he's come out from Stowe and just like looped it round. Bizarre there from Boldy, but it's another spin and it's dropped him down to 12th.
Another thing to mention actually is how well Giuseppe's doing. He's got himself up to P9 following all the rain-affected antics, so a good drive from Ranieri there. Of course, he is he's in P3 at the moment. As things stand in the Drivers' Championship, this will be a good haul of points for him if he can continue to move up the order as he has done so far.
Much needed for Kernow as well. They've had a topsy-turvy season. We've just lost Danny Asbury, who I think has only finished 1 race this entire season, and that crash will not have helped matters for him nor the Woods team, who are last currently in the Constructors. They still have their other driver, Roy Schroten, going. We'll have to do some to get into the points. Currently 19th, as here comes Alex Cooper dealing with Davidas Misalis, who gets out of the way, and the fact that he's got through before Fidek, Hamnet and Redshaw can will just give him that little breath of fresh air and sigh of relief, as you can start to see the dry line not looking quite so prominent amongst the rest of the track now.
Absolutely, and as you were saying that, Cowley having a good look up the inside all the way back at Maggot on this, or on the last lap as it is now, and now Misalis is just He's in the way a bit. He's having to make Fidok think, and Harley's looking opportunistic. He's forcing the issue. Fidok looks like he's got everything stopped quite nicely for turn 2 there, but doing a bit of, a little bit of pressure. A little moment here and there, just a small error as we head onto the Wellington Straight here. A little up moment here and there could cause all the difference as far as things go. But while all this has been going on, Alex Cooper's had a lovely time. He's got the gap all the way back up, 0.3 to 2.3.
Redshaw takes P3 from Hamnet. Hamnet, that's the third lap in a row that I've seen him. He floors it too early on the first of that double left-hander at the end of the arena section, and he just had his right rear wheel on the curb when he done so. It got him sideways, and you could see he'd lost momentum. Redshaw taking great advantage of that error there from Hamnet. Hamnet still has the pace though, so it'll be interesting to see whether the CSGs can work together to pull away, or will they work against each other as they continue to battle. Casa trying to take Ranieri for 10th and 11th, and Boldy dives through, takes 11th position from Casa, as they're all trying to resort each other back out and get back up to positions that they were in before, as Jordan Weeks has spun and dropped down to 15th for target. But still in the points, 22 cars remaining at the moment. Libya the last off them.
Weeks just got out the way of Redshaw as they're going around the Stowe corner there. So good bit of back marking or awareness, and CSGs have got through. So has Harley. At the minute, they're all maintaining a decent gap from one another. And Cooper is still making his way through traffic, and he's catching the traffic in all the right places just to get past them. And well, of course, perhaps the folks behind him just a few concerns to try and get by and well catch up.
Gergo Boldy, 9th position, just overtaken Tommy Hagen. He's just done Giuseppe Ranieri earlier this lap. He is absolutely on fire. He caught Hagen so quickly coming out from Copse, he nearly crashed into the back of him trying to go through. Boldy on the prime tyres, Hagen on the option, and it's only Boldy, Ranieri and Weeks and Libya who are on the primes at the moment, so they're choosing to get their stuff out of the way. Tsumala's in the pits, actually, going on to those prime tyres, and that's the first proper dry tyre stop that I've seen. But on lap 12, that feels like it's a bit too early.
It certainly does. I mean, tyre wear is an issue here. You've got some corners which really do cause a lot of lean, a lot of pressure to build, and in particular for some pretty long amounts of time. But with rain, you of course back off a little bit. You of course have to see how tyres running in slightly colder conditions, if they will have worn less, or well, we'll see how things go.
Well, Lewis Redshaw into the pits, as is Alex Cooper, so it's going to be a battle of the pit stops for the faux lead of the race. David Fidok continues on, as does Harley Hamnet. There's enough of a 1.3 second gap between them. They're not going to be holding each other up much as Boldy takes Tsumala for 8th and 9th. That's where Tsumala had rejoined. What are they going on to tyre-wise? Redshaw is staying on the options. Cooper is also on the options and maintains his advantage over Redshaw. Nothing really to choose between those pit stops. They rejoin lap 13 of 52. Maybe it's a 3-stopper that's the way to go, as Boldy spins it again out from Copse and is going for that trip across the grass for the 3rd time in 13 laps. Not really his day, as Hagen and Tsumala retake him and he's down to 10th. We've just lost Jordan Weeks, who's crashed out as well.
Clearly he just wants to say hello to the fans, get nice up close and personal, who knows. But as all that was going on down in the pits, of course we now have Fidok and Harley Hamnet and Hawkeye. Their golden opportunity to make a serious impact on this race is now. If they can string together some good quick laps as the others are trying to warm their tyres up, they'll have a very good chance of potentially leapfrogging them in the pits. We'll just have to see how warm these tyres are if they can really put in some good laps. But on this lap so far, Harley has really been pushing it, and he had a slight moment going through turn 2. Otherwise, he's gaining ever so slightly here on Fidok.
Run from Nick Rowland, he's gone up to 3rd position, although yet to stop. Then it's Cooper, Redshaw, Heasterbeek, who's gone off. Heasterbeek's off in the Nijo 6th position. Again, it is Copse. Obviously, people getting daring and running that outside curb, because I can see someone else has just spun off behind in the background. It looked like a Hawkeye, but it's not Hamnet. Must have been Boldy again. And someone else is off the track. Oh, it was Mark Fuller, sorry, in ST. He's rejoined in 19th position. Morten Verneson overtakes Roy Stroton for 17th and 18th. Admittedly outside the points at the moment, but the rate of what people are going, as Rowland pits from 5th, that could very well be for a good few points by the end of it.
Indeed, and the one thing to watch, especially through Copse, is there's actually quite a few different lines the drivers are taking. Some staying quite tight to the curb, some letting the car run out onto the curb. And perhaps it's just that. There's not one single dry line through there. Some are just being caught out by a little bit of dampness offline. Having said that, we've got an interesting scrap forming up here for P8. We've got Boldy recovering. He's coming up the inside for Stowe, and ooh, has he got that one done? Yes, he has. Hagen clearly seeing, well, okay, he's there. I won't fight him too much. Let's keep going this race and try and get him into a future.
Let's see if Boldy will stay ahead without spinning off outside of Copse again, because that will be the third time he'll have to have overtaken Tommy Hagen. He's doing a quietly decent job there for Red Archer. He's had a difficult start compared to his teammate, Davidus Visalis, who's been collecting all of the big wins along with everyone else that stepped into that other Red Archer seat. It's been poor old Hagen that's been picking up the 14s and 15s, but this is the one where he seems to have broken through again.
Videk and Hamnet are pitting. That's P1 and P2. They're just coming into the pit lane now. We've got Kieran Ryan also in the pits. But clearly these two must be running on a similar strategy. Will they go to options as well? Wait and see. Cars are up on the jacks. Ryan just getting away, not wanting to spin the car out there. But Vidok's got away pretty quickly there. I think the Hawkeye guy's just a little slower on the stop. But things are as you were. Now let's see where Cooper and Redshaw are in the grand scheme of things. I think that's Cooper just about to go by. Nope, that's Bumbus. That's a back marker. But Fidok continues to lead after the pits. There's Cooper. He's behind the back marker. So Fidok is running a few extra laps longer there. He's been able to jump into first. So tyre strategy, call right there for Fidok. He's given him the lead of the race.
Redshaw ahead of Hamnet as well. So mini wins for CSG, both of them moving up one slot. Great stuff there from them. And yeah, the big loser there, definitely Alex Cooper. Someone else has just lost a position. Who was that? It's Tommy Hagen's been overtaken by Mikhail Tumala for 9th and 10th, as Hagen actually now pits. But that is key for David Fidok. He's 14 points behind his teammate in the championship, and he can't just to keep on affording to winning and having Redshaw being second. He needs to start getting cars in between them. And if Redshaw continues to stay behind Cooper, that is nigh on most of his lead of the championship eliminated in one fell swoop, really, isn't it?
Indeed, indeed. And it is, well, we're only on round 9 here. We've got another 8 rounds to go, but you know, we're across the halfway mark. But you know, the thoughts of the finale must be entering some driver's mind, thinking perhaps what they'll be doing next year and what they'll be driving. But you've got to play the long game with these things, and if things keep being leaks, it's never good for the morale and the motivation. As of course these things build up, just that little voice in the back of your head, and well, that can cause drama on track as well. But I was actually going to mention a second ago, there's a lovely couple of scraps going on outside the points, drivers racing for pure pride, and we actually have a quite nice scrap developing here between Jacobs and Liberia. They're fighting over P20, and there was just a few tenths of the second between them as they started this lap. That was lap 15, and at the moment looks like Liberia is actually pulling away a little bit during the course of this lap. So I'm not aware if either of these two have pitted yet, but evidently they're having a good scrap, what we like to see.
Yeah, Liberia last pitted on lap 5 when he swapped off of the Inters, and he was behind Jacobs 2 laps ago. But interestingly, he's on the prime tyres against Jacobs on the options, so that's showing Liberia really eking out some performance on those prime tyres. Jacobs, obviously, he's doing a stand-in event in the Nord Zone, and doing a mighty fine job of it as Boldy goes off again in 8th position. But Jacobs, I think, wanting to get the experience and wanting to bring the car home, unlike I think what he done when he had to stand in at Monaco.
Indeed, and it's one of those things. These are very powerful cars. They're very light. Technique is key, and just that little bit of experience. You know, points finishes would be great on a debut. You know, we had the likes of, for example, Kevin Magnussen in Montreal this year in Formula 1. He got a podium on his debut. Brilliant start. But often it's more important just to get experience of the cars, how the racing goes, and the overall long-term strategy. The drivers that you see here are on the top of their game. They've got the best driving ability, they've got the best mental capacity to not only think about the car, what it's acting, what the wear's like, what is happening with people around them, but to think of the long-term plan as well as far as championships go. And the truly great drivers, well, they're able to manage those factors better than anyone else.
Harley Hamlin is certainly managing Lewis Redshaw, because he is called right up onto the back of him. They're 4 seconds behind Fidok. That's the biggest that gap's been all evening on lap 17 of 52. And Harley looking the more aggressive of the Hamnet versus Redshaw battle for the final podium slot as it stands. Cooper still only a second behind Fidek. He's got a Petakaza in between them. But interestingly, round the Maggots and Beckett section, it has started to rain again.
It has indeed. I was just about to say that. Evidently, someone's doing the rain dance somewhere on the track. I'm sure some drivers will be rubbing their hands with glee, and some will be cursing whoever's doing the dance. But
I love a bit of rain. What about you?
I love a bit of rain as well. It can well and truly turn what was already an unpredictable event into something even more unpredictable. But we'll have to see how heavy the shower is and who's feeling brave and lucky. We saw some cars make some serious gains on calling the right tyre at the right time. We'll have to see if anyone else is feeling brave. Perhaps they chose wrongly last time round. And, well, they might pick correctly this time. We'll have to wait and see.
I think the interesting thing is the way how R-Factor and the plug-in that we use, which gives us this fantastic extra dynamic of the weathers. And hats off to GPVWC for being able to implement this into the league, because I think it's such an amazing feature.
Yeah.
But it's one of those where, as it gets wetter and wetter and wetter, you have to be braver and more precise and more steady and just really, really focused. And then you hit that sudden cliff where you're like, no, not working. But it seems to be worse when it's going from wet to dry, because we saw, as we did with when the people on the Inters with just suddenly lost out all of a sudden with Heasterbeek, and the drop off from that side is worse than it is from it getting from dry to wet. So I think people will try and desperately cling on as long as they can.
Absolutely, and it's all about strategy. In particular, with these kind of events, you've got to really think about, is changing tyres really the best thing to do? If it stops raining in 5 laps, will I be able to pull any sort of gap out? Will the tyres shred themselves? And of course, you know, the track's getting wetter and wetter. It's nowhere near as wet as it was at the start of the race, but that little thought of, okay, what do I need to do, will be entering the driver's mind. And this is where the team managers and the guys who are watching on and trying to think out the strategies, they'll be calling the shots. And our leaders continue to go around. We just had Fidek and Cooper past the pit lane, so evidently they're carrying on for at least one more. And it looks like Fidek's actually pulling away on this time round. He's got that gap. Oh, it's gone down, in fact. Well, there you go. That's all I know. It's gone from 1.4 to 1.1. So Cooper relishing these mixed conditions as we've entered here lap 19 of 52.
On P19, Mark Fuller, Kenny Lybeer and Tom Jacobs, they've already been 3 abreast earlier on, and now Lybeer gets through into Copse, or just before Copse. Mark Fuller was doing a great defensive driving for ST. I'd seen some of their inter-team chat beforehand, where Jacobs' morale was at an all-time high, and the thing was, oh my god, we're going to be panned again, as Jacob spins, as does Fuller. That was one leading the other off. Tom Jacobs there just tapping the back of the ST driver, but it's great to see them in still competition with other teams, and it's good to see that they're able to have their spin and rejoin without having any more issues with people being lapping them and causing problems as people are in the pits. We have Tom Vandervoort, he's gone in and stuck on a new pair of options, and Boldy is in again, and I think he's going for dries as well. So people choosing to stay on dries despite it being a rainy time. No, Boldy's gone for inters, he's the first one.
So it's, of course, at this phase of the race, we're about coming up to a third of the way through now. It's getting towards perhaps that normal pit stop window. So if you did start on dries, you may have to be making that really difficult call of, well, do I carry on with my set out strategy, or do I take a gamble? As clearly the track is getting really wet. I'm just watching Redshaw and P3 and Hamnet in P4. They've been battling all laps, really respectful driving, side by side through pretty much the whole of Sector 2. And they are really getting slidey out of some of these corners. If I were out on track, I'd certainly start thinking about it as, ooh, Redshaw's gone well wide there. Nope, he's rejoined there. I thought there's been a lag going straight on. Nope, he was just recovering the car, but he's gone deep now into turn 2, and surely Hamlet's going to have it near. Yes, he does indeed. So conditions, they're starting to catch out the drivers, and see who's going to make those brave strategy calls.
What's been interesting is Boldy completely missed 2 corners on the trot, and now all of a sudden has retaken Giuseppe Ranieri for 9th and 10th position. Has already got about 5 car lengths out of him just round Luffield. So it's an interesting paradox as they start to get on and up to streams. They always say, oh, you need to be on the right tyre at the right time, as Columbus is in the pits and has gone on to dry options. I don't know if that's really the right move to do, but how long can these cars stay out there? Fidek now only 0.9 clear of Cooper, with Hamnet and Redshaw 5.2 and 5.8 off respectively. Roland, Heasterbeek, Vandervoort, Tumala, Boldy and Ranieri are your top 10, and they're the only 10 on the lead lap actually.
So we've got the two cars which I think are closest at the minute. In fact, actually they've passed one of those, Hagen and Casa, as we've got Roland about to lap them. They're fighting over P11 and P12. Casa, he was having a great drive through the field. He's still in the points. Little momentary lapse going through Cops there has just cost him a position, and we'll have to see if these two are respectful and let Roland bite by them. So yes, they are. Good stuff. As they come down the hanger straight, and the rain's really coming down now. We're about, I would say, it probably is just as wet as it was when we started the race. And we saw several cars gamble with the tyre choice. To my eye, if I was out now, I'd definitely be asking whoever I've got calling my strategy, is it going to carry on raining? Can you figure these things out? Can I get on a set of wet tyres? And if you're not at the points, you never know. Just that little gamble can gain you 20, 30 seconds, and, well, you might have a good shout of a point.
Well, Gergo Boldy has gained over David Fidek, the race leader, 0.4 of a second on the first sector of this current lap. I'll keep an eye on it as Heasterbeek changes to Inters as well. He was one of the people that gambled on Inters on the first round and then lost out slightly later on. So it's interesting to see that he's going straight for it again. Tom Jacobs has also switched to the Inters, but I'll keep an eye on Boldy's time just to see how it differs over Fidek's.
Certainly, and actually he was probably doing the whole field a massive favour there by actually going out there on those wet tyres and posting what the cars would be capable of if they were to switch. However, having said this, the rain has been heavy, it looks a little thinner now, and it almost sounds like it's going to stop. So we'll have to see if anyone's pitted in for wet tyres. They might be able to get a little bit of an advantage as the track remains wet, but it certainly looks like it will start to dry out shortly.
Tommy Hagen, 13th position. That's no front wing on that Red Archer, sadly. Past goes his teammate Missilis, and that will ruin that. Boldy gained 1.2 seconds over the entire lap there, and a position with Mikhail Tumala as well. So clearly the swing is on the Inters, but for how much longer, God only knows.
Ranieri pits, I would assume that's going to be for wet tyres.
No,
might
options.
Not be. Options, well, that may be the better call. We'll have to see. It certainly looks to me like the rain is stopping just by looking at what's physically falling from the sky.
That's all. I find that being sometimes the best way to tell.
But it looks like there's some brave drivers sticking with their dry tyres, and I have a feeling they're going to be the winners out of this. A few gambling on those wet conditions. I think they may just be unlucky this time around.
You can see the gap between Fidek and Cooper seems to elastic band from anything from 0.8 to 2.4 seconds over this kind of period of greasy wet trackness. Someone give the track surface some head and shoulders, because it is certainly within need of having a degrease as they go down across the old start finish line. Still 1.2 the gap. Hamnet is still in third, Redshaw 4, Roland 5. Heasterbeek in 6 on the Inters, but not making tons of headway. Boldy is still making it work. He's taken another 2 seconds out so far in the first 2 sectors of this lap, so he's really working it and closing down Vandervoort quickly. Then it's Tumala, Ranieri, who did come out on dry tyres again. Then it's Casa, Missilis, Vernonson, Ryan and Schroten in the points for Woods Racing, so they'll be delighted. Just ahead of Columbus and Muscat, who are scrapping over 16 and 17 nose to tail, with Hagen just behind recovering on his new front wing. Livebeer is in 19th, and was that Boldy spinning off into the barriers? Did he make it to the barriers? I'm not sure. Nope, he's back going again. But Boldy, I think, has had more spins than I've had hot dinners. The rounding off the field is with Jacobs and Fuller.
Scrapping all the way up and down. Looks like he's got Heasterbeek just going around Cops there in P6. He was one of the ones, I believe, who gambled.
Redshaw's gone off.
Oh!
4th position. Sorry to dive in there. That was he's completely missed 2 corners on the trot, and that will have gifted a nice little gap there to Hamlet. He's kept it out of major trouble, but that's the first time that I've seen one of those front quartet really have a real off-track excursion.
The track, or the rain I should say, is definitely starting to slow a bit, but even still the track very greasy on and off and online, and just a small little break in concentration, just put that wheel on that curb and round you go. So that will gifted Harley a nice bit of breathing room. He can just start to think about controlling the car, thinking about what he'll do to catch Cooper, sorry, as it is now, P2. And I'm sure Roland will be quite pleased to see that his delta to the next car has probably come down a good chunk as well. So Yeah, lots to keep an eye on here. Fidok still leads. The gap, as you say, is ever so slightly, well, rubber banding somewhat. Although, having said this, Cooper, he's now taken a few tenths off, and the gap down now to 1.3.
More fascinating, I find, is that Boldy on his inters has lost a second and a half this lap.
There you are. The weather swing of tyre grip. I don't know if there's more an elaborate way of putting it, but Boldy apparently had a slight excursion this lap as well, so that might have had a factor to do with it as well. But
yep.
If you're going to make the most of these wet tyres, now is the time to do it. So let's see if we can eke out some more performance from these tyres before they hit that cliff, which we've seen happen to other cars.
The Beak is slow, is actually going slightly faster than Fidok as well, so it looks like there's still mileage in it yet, as Missilis takes 11th position from Petakaza. Red Archer versus Torrent, that's down into Stowe, and then immediately Missilis dives into the pit, so that was a nice little en route moment. That'll pop Vernonson up a position as well. So 21 drivers in the race. Sorry.
Yeah, Jacob's also in the pits this lap, and drama in the pit lane. Oh dear, that
wasn't planned, was it?
That was definitely not planned. That was just, again, wrong place, wrong time there. Unlucky for Jacobs. I think contact was avoided as Missilis gives it plenty of wheel spin as he gets out of his box there. Exactly what you don't want. Just down, nice cold tyre. You think, right, okay, let's pull away. There's a car just stopping right in front. Wonderful. Just the way to start your next stint.
Well, at least it's not been a CSG double parking fit this time round. That's happened far too often this season. So I suppose we needed some pit lane hijinks to get us going, and in the spirit of sim racing itself. If you are watching, beware, you can still tweet us at #GPVWC. Love to hear all of your comments as we go on and complete lap 24 of 52 and coming up to the half distance. I tell you what, we've seen more drama and intrigue in this one than we have some of the other races put together. Yeah,
there's, as you say, just the addition of the RFE plugin to provide this weather can really shake things up. We've seen this in the other leagues that the GPVWC's got to offer. We had rain at the final race of the Russian Ring in the ITC, and that well and truly turned the race on its head. Who gambled for tyres and who didn't, and as it, again, it's just given that little spice, that little edge, and it's given us a cracker of a race here.
Do like a bit of soggy biscuit. Swapping around of positions. Who was that? That was Mindergaus Columbus retaking Jason Muscat for 16th and 17th. They know that points mean prizes, and they've got Hagen behind, who's been quicker than the pair, closing them down too. So we'll keep a beady 1/16 of an eye on that one. Still 7 drivers on the lead lap. They'll be through to Van der Vault in not too much of a time by. There's a real traffic jam. Oh, it's David Fidok there having to get around a lot of people, and Cooper's still trying to. And Cooper's caught those cars through the Maggots and Beckett section, and although they're managing to get vaguely out of the way, I couldn't imagine a complex worse on this circuit to catch traffic.
Exactly, very much single file all the way through there. And it looks to me that that midnight car that Cooper is driving, it's got a bit more wing as he's ducking into the pits. Yes. Looks like he's playing his hand as far as tyre stops go. We'll have to see what he goes on to, but with the track drying, I would expect them to be a nice new set of dry tyres if their primer option. I'll have to wait and see, but Billy's had enough of being behind the rear wing and fired up. He's going to try and get the undercut.
Well, it's funny because Redshaw's in this time as well, and it wasn't those two that pitted last time round. It was Cooper and Fidok, wasn't it, and Hamnet and Redshaw. So
indeed. So
interesting that Cooper has blinked slightly early. He's gotten away quite nicely, up and away in that weird hill. Always reminds me like they've only cut half of the Abu Dhabi pit lane and stuck it on the end. A bit strange. And Cooper gets out ahead of teammate Roland, and Redshaw has come out directly behind. Though if Midnight Motorsport want to play a little bit of happy inter-team rivalry, they could let Roland just back off ever so slightly and maybe hold up Redshaw. But of course they're kind of sister teams in a way, so I'm not quite sure how they would view that if that was to happen. I wonder how all fair in love and war really is fair by.
Indeed. Yeah, of course, the rule being never take out your teammate. Well, sister teams, well, that's even potentially even more hazardous.
I wouldn't take out your sister, it's illegal in most countries. There's Vernon's and Pitts from 13.
Lovely. Meanwhile, on this lap, Harley Hamnet has been aided greatly by his teammate Boldy, as he's got by both him and another back marker on this lap. It'll certainly help him in the quest for catching, well, the leader in this case, which is still David Piddock, but also potentially gaining a bit of time and position on the cars ahead of him as things are. Of course, we have Cooper and Redshaw rejoined on the track now, but anytime you can gain while those two are getting their tyres up to temperature, which will be a real challenge in these mixed conditions, will be well, very beneficial. I'm sure there'll be positions in it, given how close all these guys are. And to my eye, the gap was 3.8 seconds between Hamnet and Piddock, but I think Harley, he's feeling feisty again. He's getting the back of his car loose there through the exit of turn 3 onto the Wellington straight here. Fight clearly, clearly feeling fired up. So does my throat. As we are on lap 27 here, just about to come up to race half race distance. In fact, we're there now.
We are indeed. Celebrate everybody. Road Heasterbeek has also pitted for Nijo and gone back onto the option tyres, so he's come off the Inters. Boldy is the only person still out there on the Inters tyres, and he's quite frankly been absolutely eaten into, rimmed practically by Tumala on the old time standings, as Piddock has got real issues with Jason Muscat that he's trying to get through and lap, and they're busy battling with Hagen, and they've got Schroten and Columbus just up the road as well. So this is not the time when they wanted to catch battling lower end of the points squabbles, because they're busy looking at each other and not necessarily at the car ahead. And it just that little bit of extra distraction where your eyes aren't quite focused on exactly what you're doing because you're not 100% sure what they're doing, but it could cost those extra valuable temps.
Absolutely, and pretty much, I'd say at least half, if not 2/3 of the field are in this train here. I'd say probably covered by about 10 to 15 seconds. So tough times ahead for the leaders as they make their way through, and this will surely benefit the likes of Cooper and Redshaw as they have free air and have got their pit stop done. Meanwhile, Hamnet and Piddock, well, they may be losing time here, so a bit disastrous, as the sun to me has looked like it's finally come out again. So
it has, and as soon as you say that, I've just heard a massive cheer behind, so I'm assuming England has scored. Not sure.
Who knows about that?
Who cares?
Indeed.
It's all a load of balls to me. But what I would say is, whilst all this is going on with Piddock and the actual lapping, which he's still having to do with Schroten and Vandervoort, Harley Hamnet has closed his gap from 4.4 to 3 seconds exactly, but Cooper's changed his gap from 23 seconds down to 20.6, so he is net gaining, as is even Redshaw. It's gone down from 27 to 25, so they are winning out by having clear air, whilst these guys clearly aren't.
Yeah, exactly. And with fresh tyres, clear track ahead, 100%, few quality laps can make all the difference. Well, a few seconds in either case there. And, well, with pit stops and things being as close as they are, that can mean the little difference between positions. So the kind of drama for our current leaders, having to navigate through traffic, but it's one of those things, unfortunately. But having said that, I think Piddock has now cleared the last of the traffic as we go on to lap 29 here of 52. So he'll have, actually, as it looks like, quite a bit of clear air. The next car up is Jacobs, who's just about to exit turn 3.
Quick update on the old changing of stuff. Columbus is off in 18th position, and that has ruined him out from what was 16th. Now down to 18th in the target, so it's all falling apart for Target Racing. They were on for points with weeks earlier on until his retirement. Columbus was on the edge and now has just dropped back ever so slightly. Boldy has pitted and gone onto the options as well, so everyone now firmly on dry tyres.
And that's definitely the right call. Actually, as things have gone, the weather definitely lasted a bit longer this time round, so if you did switch to those wetter tyres than the slicks, of course, I don't think you would have potentially have lost as much. I certainly didn't see anyone fall off a cliff as Heasterbeek did during that first little phase of the race. As things go, perhaps not the worst situation. As we've now got Piddock, he's caught up to Jacobs on this lap. He was absolutely on it through Maggots and Beckett and has already passed him, and they haven't even got to the braking zone yet before Stud.
Roy Schroten, 15th position, clinging on for dear life to that final points paying position, but Tommy Hagen did not catch the exit curb from that complex and is going down the wetter lane.
Piddock and Hamnet are in. Sorry to talk over you there, but Harley Hamnet, he was truly late on the brakes. I would say he's probably gained a chunk of time just by perhaps risking it a bit and trying to get a little bit of a overlap there on the time. So Fiduk now up, getting his tyres changed. Hamner is back down already. He did, or his pit box is further down the pit lane. He's away. Fiduk is away. It looks like we're as you were, but we have to keep an eye on where Cooper and Redshaw are to really see how things have played out. By the looks of it, Cooper's just about to come around turn 1 now. Fiduk has and is out, so Fiduk clearly he's got the pit call or the strategy call right there. He's been able to make the most of it. He's still ahead of Cooper.
Cooper lost 3 seconds in the last lap and a half. He was 20.4 behind 2 laps ago. As they crossed the line this time by, he was 23.3. So that I find quite interesting. He must have caught something on, or made a mistake, or just been out caught by traffic somewhere along the line. Maybe just the reverse happening to him as they've caught back up with people again. But yeah, that's clearly where he's lost something along the lines, because he would have had him otherwise. And so he's there. Hamnet has rejoined in 3rd ahead of Redshaw. Rowland pitted on the same lap, rejoined in 5th ahead of Heasterbeek and Vandervoort. Then 1 lap down, Baldy 8, Tumala 9, Ranieri 10. Missalus is up to 11, Casa will be 12th, Bernanson is 13th ahead of Hagen and Muscat now into the points, because Kieran Ryan's just pitted and rejoined right behind Muscat. That'll be a battle as they go down Hanger Straight. Indeed it isn't, as they're getting lapped by Fiduk, so they've had to break that one up. Schroten's in 17, Clumbus 18, Libeer is 19, 2 laps down, as is Jacobs. 3 down is Mark Fuller, he's your last runner and rider.
Yeah, as things go, actually, we were sort of mentioning a moment or two ago how it's not great that our leaders, as they were at the time, were catching traffic as they were trying to build that gap. But actually, I think as things have panned out, just with cars where they physically were on track, it's probably actually net helped them. Just slowing down their competition, in this case, for example, Cooper, losing a chunk of time there. And that did make the difference as far as position goes. So Fiduk's probably grinning like a Cheshire Cat now. He's got a nice 1.6 second gap, which is what it was actually before the pit stops happened. And yeah, he's got some fresh rubber on board. Let's see what he can do. He's got a car ahead of him in the form of, I believe, that is... oh no, who the devil is that? Hagen, there we are. He's in P14 for Red Archer, as I'm getting my driver names mixed up here. But once he clears him, he's got a good area of free air to run into, and he might be able to build a gap here. But let's keep an eye on it. Cooper's actually dropped down to nigh on 2 seconds a gap on this lap so far, so he's lost about 4 attempts in the first sector. But Cooper, to my eye, his car's definitely got a bit more downforce on it. He's clearly gaining through this Maggots and Beckett section, so perhaps the fast stuff is not where he's going to be strong. He'll carry so much more speed, though, through these corners and get an overtaking opportunity. Hooked up, down towards Stowe.
Maurice Schroten's been on an adventure somewhere along the line. He's just lost 8 seconds on his last lap, and is now they're down in 19th, so that's really hurt him and the Woods agenda. Everyone is on the option tyres except for Mikhail Tumala, who's on prime, so we'll see how he deals with that and can eke out some of the performance. It's the front left tyre that absolutely ruined me in Formula Challenge. I'm assuming it'll be the same problem that they'll be having around here on Super League as well.
I'm sure, and of course these cars have a lot of downforce that can only exacerbate the problems, so tyre conservation and maintenance is definitely a key factor around here. It's a fast track, it has heavy load corners, you've got to make sure that you get those tyres working the best you can across the stint, and that may mean you have to sacrifice a bit of pure pace, but if you can save that time and not having to do extra pit stops, definitely worth it.
Lap 32 we are completing with David Fiduk, 2.3 ahead of Cooper with Hamnet and Redshaw. And oh, how Harley would love to get himself splattered back on that podium. It has been a real up and down season for him and for Hawkeye to some degree. The issue with Harley is his DNF streaks. He's had a 16th, which wasn't quite how it started. He wasn't able to race in Malaysia due to connection issues. A DNF for connection in Bahrain. The same in Canada. His best finish so far was a 5th last time out in Austria, where it finally looked like momentum was starting to swing Hawkeye's way. But he was on for a podium at Canada before his disconnection there, and he would dearly love to step on the podium. There's a few people who I think actually all year round that they've really deserved to be up there, and Harley has been one of those guys for me, just solidly plugging away, not necessarily doing anything wrong, but just having all the cack thrown at him, and let's hope he can keep that solid connection up all the way home.
Exactly, I truly hope so. I mean, we mentioned earlier that Hawkeye is a very capable car, and it's just a real shame that through no fault of his own, he's just had these little disconnections and issues here and there, and it's great to see him well and truly reap the rewards for some great drives. So yeah, here's hoping he'll stay on the podium, and well, as things go, Cooper is fluctuating a bit, the gap between him and Fidek. You never know, he might feel a little pucker for a second place podium spot. We'll have to see how this turns out.
Van der Vault having a half spin as he tried to pop a lap on Petter Kaza. Kieran Ryan's just done an almost identical thing in 16th position. There's, in fact, he's now massively, I think he's just had a screen freeze or something, because he lagged out and then rejoined back where he was before. So Kieran looks like the car is having a bit of an issue. That may be a disconnection if that doesn't sort itself out soon for the Phoenix F1 driver.
Which is a real shame. He had a cracking start. He's been fairly solid getting those lap times in. That'd be a real shame if he's going to disconnect, as we're pretty much 2/3 of the way through the race now.
Yeah, he's lagging out all the way across the circuit. Let's hope that gets sorted out. Must be that Irish connection that he's going on. Don't trust the Irishmen, as we all go down the old familiar bracket. There's a couple of drivers close together. Who was that? Oh no, it was a little bit of laparoo going on as things sort themselves out slightly. I just wanted to bring us back, actually, as you are the man with the stat and the know-hows, about how these cars are developed currently at the moment. We've mentioned the Hawkeye car is quite strong. What other cars for you have kind of stood out as ones that are either overperforming relative to where they are currently at the moment, or underperforming?
So, two drivers which I've been keeping my eye on, because they've had a great drive so far, are the two Torrent drivers. And actually, their car is very, very well developed at this point in the season. I think they've got a pretty solid machine under them, and evidently they've been able to reap the rewards of that. And as we have here, these cars are being actively developed, the engines having to be managed all the way through the season here. And, of course, we've got our reserve drivers, our test drivers going around before each event, getting precious research and development points for their team so they can continue to improve these cars. And actually, probably a fair thing to say is actually some of these cars do not have the downforce, do not have the ability of some of the top-end machines. And actually, especially in these mixed conditions where there's been rain and all sorts on the track, they've probably had a really hard time keeping the car under control. So actually, although we may have some drivers really pushing it every single lap for those race win podiums, as we were saying, you've got to give a shout out to those guys who've got cars which do not have as much downforce, do not have as much power, but still get good results. So the good drives all round, as we'd love to see.
Ryan's car has now stabilised itself. It had a little wobble and it threw him off the track again, but he has rejoined just ahead of Kenny Libera and Roy Schroeter in the battle for 17, 18 and 19, so I'll keep a beady eye on that one. Up front, Redshaw has closed to now within just a second of Harley Hamnet, so that could be game on again for those two in the battle for third and fourth. Cooper still 2.2 behind Fidek, so things looking quite even Stevens there. And it will be very much to see just how they can now, as the track continues to dry and stay dry, we're going to have potentially a whole undisturbed dry stint. And that'll be interesting to see exactly how the tyres change throughout that, because Cooper had to pit a lap earlier than Fidek.
He
didn't get the undercut, did he? So it's going to be fascinating to see how that one develops.
Exactly, and unless I'm very much mistaken, I think Harley lost second on the previous lap there, and that's what's really helped Lewis get a little bit closer. He's now got that gap down to just 0.8 of a second between the two. So this one's definitely going to be on the brew over the next few laps. I think that's fair to say.
Grab yourself a rich tea.
I think you may need one. Yeah, I think I could make some form of pun about dunking, but let's not go there.
Do it. Come down to my level.
I'll have to prepare myself. Anyway, I'm just keeping an eye on other things going on. We've got Cooper and Fidek. They just passed a bit of traffic in the form of Casa. They've now both got by them, but to my eye and to the timing eye, Cooper's gained a few tenths off the back of that. So we don't have too much traffic ahead of these guys. We've got a few cars in the next sector, but we've got real gaggle on sector 3. So that could be something to keep an eye on as the race progresses. Can the back marker affect the back marker? I don't know. Superlative here. Really impact pit stop strategies again, as it did last time round.
Watching interesting predicament that was going on there. Kenny Libera in the VOD ball stuck behind Giuseppe Ranieri, but Ranieri's actually a lap ahead and Libera looks faster, and he's kind of poking it around as if to say, I would like to unlap you please, but he's not. Well, he might be having a stab at it now actually in 16th as he goes through and does indeed unlap himself from Ranieri, so that's an interesting one there. Libera a bit out of position in that VOD ball. Another car that has been quite strong and hasn't quite followed through on the old results side, I don't think.
Indeed, and actually, to the looks of it, Libera has pitted one additional time to Ranieri, so it might be just a case of old tyres in play there. Just keeping it on the island, keep it going, and well, sure, if it is a strategy call to keep and run as long as possible for Ranieri, he'll be in for some fresh rubber, and we'll see how things are if the roles are reversed.
Tom Vandervoort pits and pops on the prime tyres from 7th. Just him and Tumala. Tumala's been on those primes most of the race actually, so it's interesting for him. Remember, if you change and you pit wet tyres, that means that you don't then have to run both dry compounds, but if you stay on the dries throughout the entire race, then you do have to run both compounds regardless of it raining or not.
Exactly, little twist in the rules. So it could be a case of some of the guys who pitted or had wet tyres on at the start, they might be able to run options to the tyre life of the options, perhaps the more deciding. Oh, that's a CSG round! CSG round! That's Viaduct, he's spun it, going through Cops by the looks of it, and he's now holding up his teammate. Oh! Contact between the teammates, that's not ideal. Cooper looks like he's been affected. Meanwhile, Harley Hamnet leads, going through the exit of Chapel. All of the Christmases and birthdays must just come at once. I have no idea what caused that accident or incident to occur, but Harley doesn't care, he's in the lead.
That is absolutely crazy because I think, let's have a little look. Cooper was already behind. Viaduct has gone off and kind of gone across the track. Then Cooper has spun, kind of doing exactly what Viaduct had done, only not quite done quite as good a job of it. So Hamnet has a 1.4 second advantage over Redshaw. Cooper is in 3rd, Viaduct down to 4th position. I wonder what kind of steering damage that has done to the pair. It's not the first time they've come to blows, and this, I think, will be a very, very interesting post-race interview if we get the chance to have it.
It may very well be, and as you say, damage is the major concern there. That looked like a fairly hefty impact into the front left suspension of Redshaw CSG.
I'm surprised he's got a front wing, to be honest.
Yeah, almost. It shows how... we've just heard from our cameraman extraordinaire that there may have been a bit of lag which caused that contact. So perhaps a little bit latency coming to the rescue, saving, well, an expensive repair bill for the CSG boys. But evidently the tide, or the tables have turned all of a sudden. Harley's now got the lead. It's still a 1.4 second gap at the moment. But if Redshaw, he wants to take this win, as he has done many times before so far this season, the time is now. Can he put the hammer down, start to eat into that gap and get the win?
Well, we've only had CSG and Midnight Motorsports win so far this year as Redshaw pops into the pits. Is that to pull him in slightly early and expect the damage? It is around that time where you would expect to pit anyway, with 14 laps to go, lap 38 completed. Hamnet then needs to hammer it now. There's a Midnight in as well, that's Cooper. So Redshaw and Cooper, they pitted together last time. Primes for Cooper and for Redshaw as they get back going. But Redshaw, I think, is fixing damage and he may well lose out to Cooper. Does he get out in front? Just about. Just about.
The CSG pit crew there putting their practice into effect. Got out just ahead, but by the looks of it, Roland's had them both. So still losing out a place or two there. Oh no, by the looks of it, Redshaw's just about stayed out ahead. But Cooper there losing out to his teammate, which is a bit of a pity. But oh well, that's racing for you. Let's see if Harley's able to do anything with this new 5.3 second gap he now has over the next car being Viaduct.
Roland needs to either have a go at Redshaw immediately and try and see if he can intervene with that, or probably step aside and allow his teammate to try and close back in, because him being in between that battle is only going to hinder Cooper as opposed to actually help him currently at the moment. So that will require a little bit of hijinks manoeuvring to see how that one goes on, and they are 23 seconds off of the back of Hamnet, which was exactly what Viaduct had when he got out and stayed in the lead ahead of Cooper last time round. So it's looking good at the moment. We'll keep a Beady eye.
It is indeed. And of course, the other issue now is, of course, with Cooper taking the seat for this time round, what will the team manager be thinking as far as, well, who do I allow to, do I allow them to race? Do I order this up so we get points for Roland, who's been driving for the team for a bit longer? I mean, it's an uncomfortable decision, especially when you've got drivers in particular affected by an incident such as that. Really unfortunate. Again, wrong place, wrong time, and that can just put that little bit of friction, that little bit of discomfort in play. So we'll have to see how this one gets sorted out. Meanwhile, Harley is loving it. He's got that gap up to 5.5 over Fidok. So if he can keep going like this, he might perhaps consider pitting in, getting a nice sticky set of options in. Otherwise, I think we have got a real twist on this race here, as we just over 3/4 distance.
It's fascinating. I was saying this in a conversation to some other guys earlier on in the week, in that the whole split decision between Cooper and Euler, both fantastic drivers, both great winners in their own right and champions in the case of Euler, but it means that you're swapping around two quote-unquote A drivers and having a steady B who's already ahead and has got all of the points, and so you're never going to have a driver's champion out of all that scenario particularly. So it's only setting yourself up for weird juggling now later on. So it will help them in the team as Cooper gets round Nick Rowland. Nice little swapperoo there on the midnights. But I agree, it's not the best situation for all, and the only person that can help out with that is if they work together and make sure to just maximise team results and just forget anything driver-wise.
Indeed, and I mean, the only logic I can put to it is that the Midnight are looking for constructors, the constructors title. Get those drivers in who can, they are proven, they have a track record. Excuse the pun. They can score points and get good finishes. And at this point in time, there is a big gap between Midnight and CSG, but you never know. We've got 8 rounds left, 8 races, a lot of points on offer. It might be a case of just alternating drivers, keeping things fresh, might just give you a little bit of edge, a new idea here, a new idea there. So I have to see how this one pans out. It's certainly an interesting decision, well, let's hope that it won't cause any antics or issues in the team.
Jacobs then just switching to the primes in 20th, still running quite nicely. Hamnet stays out. He's got Columbus and Heasterbeek to lap just up ahead of him. One of the other ones dived off into the pits. So the thing is that all it takes is for this CSG rivalry, and there is rivalry in that team. We've seen it kind of bubble over on track a little bit beforehand. It's takes one team coming together, which is not down to lag or a driver area where someone immediately says I'm sorry and backs down, or there is no clear right-wrong scenario. If they're both removed and then Midnight get a 1-2, they may be 112 points out in front already, but that's 59 gone straight away, and then
exactly.
That points is halved. And then you think, what is then the ramifications of yet another inter-team clash? Does that mean that suddenly, well, if you're going to be like that, I'm not going to share my latest setup? And then all of a sudden, things spiral, and we've seen it in other teams, and we've seen it in real racing and in sim racing, and it's from the tiniest seeds that rivalries spring from.
Exactly, it's the whole Senna Prost situation that, of course, very famously played out in the late 80s, early 90s. We saw similar between Hunt and Lauda. Both of those have had films now. Let's see where this goes.
All the films.
But we'll have to see, of course, how this pays out. As Hamnet now pits here on lap 42, is he going to do a last swap here onto some option tyres, get some quick laps in? He's got a 5-second gap back to Fidok, a 25-second gap back to the next CSG of Register. So,
he'll have to go primes.
Have to go primes. Well, as Fidok's in as well. Fidok is covering that, so evidently there may be a bit of teamwork here going on to try and keep pace with one another. But to my eye, I think Harley, and hopefully I won't curse this, will get out ahead here. Fidok will be right behind. Same age of tyre. So I have to see these two head-to-head. Head-to-head, how these two can do. Because it's going to be between these two now as we go onto our 43rd lap here. And they are well ahead of Redshaw who's, to my eye, looks like he's pulling away now from Cooper. So, and thank you again, Mr. Cameraman Extraordinaire. Pit stop has definitely worked out more for Harley Hamnet than David Fardock, because Wernenson's now between the two. So hopefully Fardock will be able to navigate that back marker fairly promptly. But Harley, again, he'll be looking in his mirrors and be smiling from ear to ear. Lovely stuff. He's got that one just right. And I won't say it, but he's looking very good for a good finish here.
Tom Vandervoort into the pits again. He's just been off for a spin, and he's on the grass in the pit lane. So I think he's clouted a wall somewhere along the line, because that car looks suspiciously crabby as he comes in from what was 8th now down to 7th, already down to 9th, with Boldy and Sumala pitting as well. So issues there for the Nijo driver. But yes, Hamnet had a much bigger gap coming into the pits and out again. What is interesting is it was 6 seconds between himself and Fardock the lap before the pit stops. It's now 3.2. So we'll keep a watch out to see how that one contracts or expands. Redshaw passed Vernonson as well, so that's sorted, and Rowland pits from 5th position, and that removes him from the equation. So it's now really down to this final quartet to have yet another final round of action here at Silverstone.
Indeed, and as you say, this quartet all very close together on track, less than 20 seconds between all of them, and one error from any of these drivers, and that's probably them really pushing their luck to try and catch up. They'll be able to consolidate their position, but they certainly won't be going forward. So at the moment, looks like Harley's trying to make hay while the sun remains to shine. He's got that gap to 3.1 now. It was 6 before the pit stops, of course. And it looks like Fardock and Redshaw, 1.5 between those two. We'll see if they start scrapping again, as they did at the start of the race. So there's still plenty to happen. We've got, what's this, 8-9 laps remaining. So plenty of time for action to occur. We'll just keep our beady eyes on it.
Giuseppe Ranieri under attack from Devidas Misalis for 9th and 10th position, and Misalis through down the outside and getting the racing line before they get to Stowe. And Misalis, of course, had that accident at the beginning of the race for the Red Archer and has slowly clawed his way back up through the field again. I wonder how Giuseppe Ranieri's style of driving matches the Colonel against the Midnight Motorsports. And I suppose that goes down to upgrades as well. That car set up, you would have thought, for Lee Morris as their lead driver, and I don't know how close together those two stylings are, but surely as a lead driver you have some say over what upgrades you would prefer that can suit and complement your driving style.
Absolutely, and of course this is perhaps another issue of you joining a team mid-season. Of course you may have a car being set up, being upgraded to suit one over another. The Kerno car is actually pretty solid. It's definitely a lot better than some of the cars out there. It's a solid midfield car. And Ranieri's, he's had a good race here, good bucket of points here to bring home, all things being equal. I think he can be pleased with his performance here in amongst the rain and all the other madness we've seen as we've gone on here.
Madness, total
madness, I tell you. But no, he's got a lot out of that car, and it's good to see it perform well. And well, as things are, he'll get a top 10. So that's good stuff.
Just further down the field, still some other battles yet to be resolved. Kieran Ryan versus Columbus for 18th and 19th. They're still squabbling away. Muscat has still got a few seconds over Kenny Lybeer for 15 and 16, but Lybeer is doing a 3/4 stop strategy, so he's got the tyres to try and reel him in. Schroten has dropped off the back of that, so that's going to be the battle for the final points paying positions. Apart from that, now that Misalis has passed Ranieri, that is really it for the back end of the field. It's just to see how this final quartet continue on. Hamnet now up to the Columbus and Ryan battle to lap, just 2.3 the gap between himself and David Fardock. Fardock is turning that screw and clawing it in ever so slowly, but he's got 6 laps to go, and that's enough time, more than enough, to make an impact.
Exactly, and it looks like the Hawkeye car there much better on cold tyres. That's what I put that gap down to. And as we've got traffic here, Harley there was just held up a bit as cars were navigating their way around. It's perhaps going to be a bit of a challenge now. Evidently, the CSG tyres are up to temperature if you'll start to be clawed in here. The gap between Redshaw and Fardock, the CSG teammates, remain level at about 1.5, 1.6 seconds here. So at this point in time, I'd perhaps be thinking about getting to the end, getting some a good solid points obtained position in the bag. So maybe just a time of, okay, well, if you were Lewis Redshaw, right, David, go for it, mate. Well, I'll be your rear gunner. Go after Harley, try and get that win for the team. Precious points for constructors, and that's what part of the game is about. As goodness gracious me, Lewis Redshaw there, just catching up Ryan on the exit of Chapel there. That was a bit close and hairy. That's definitely not where you want to be catching a car to lap. But thankfully, everyone still running there. No contact or collision. It's good stuff. As Harley, he's just coming through the club corner complex round the last turn onto the start finish, and that was Van der Voot getting well out the way there. It's good to see. Not really holding him up too much, and we now have, I think, that stroke ahead of the next of these lap cars. So the sooner Harley can dispatch these guys, the better. He's got the gap down to 1.7 seconds now, so it's ever closer, ever closer. We'll have to see how well Fido navigates this traffic.
Well, I was just about to say, your comment on we still got people running. We hadn't had a retirement since lap 11, but now we've just had Mindergas Columbus disconnect from 19th.
Oh.
So that was just before I was even able to get my commentators cursing. But now we're down to 20 runners as Hamnet gets a real tank slapper on the exit of Luffield, and that's not going to help him. And still the gap there, 1.6 as they negotiate Van der Voort. But yes, down to 20 runners and riders in this race, which is a lot higher than what I thought it was going to be, judging by how we started off this race.
Absolutely. I mean, so Silverstone on its own, it's a fast track. If you make a mistake, you'll be going at very high speed off circuit. And the walls, they're a fair distance, but they're pretty close at the pace you're going. So we've definitely done well here. Mix in rain as well. Goodness gracious, that can, as we've seen, always flip some tables as far as contact and things go. But no, good number of finishes at the moment, and hopefully everyone who is still running will finish. I think actually, as things have gone, we've had quite a few disconnections this race. So if you take that element outside, I think we would have had even more. Unfortunate nature of some racing and catching a few drivers out, no fault of their own.
Yeah, 3 disconnections over the course of the event, if we include Canapino, who was our guy that was starting on pure wet tyres. That's why I got confused when I said, oh, he's on wets and now he's disappeared. So it's been interesting to see, just purely from a competitive stance side, as to how those wet tyres would have compared on that type of rain, because we'd have had dry inters and wets all out on track at once, and that would have been a good one to compare as Jacobs goes 4 laps down in 19th. Still not the last runner. He has the ST of Mark Fuller behind him, keeping well out of the way, and the gap now 1.2 between Hamlet and Fidock, the closest it has been for quite some time.
It is indeed, and I'm just casting my eyes up to the clouds. They seem a little greyer. I'm not going to call it, but they certainly seem a little greyer than they were a few laps ago. And as our cameraman has now just accused me of doing the rain dance, honestly, I assure you there's no such thing going on.
Do it. I want to see truffle shuffles.
Oh dear. If that brings on rain, Lord help us all. But as we are going through the closing stages of this race now, we're on lap 49 of 52. Just a few laps remaining. The gap is 1.1 between Harley and Fidock. Fidock's really got to get a move on here. It's one thing to catch, it's quite another to actually pass. And by the looks of it, Redshaw, as I expected, is just hanging back, getting the car home, solid point finish, keeping an eye on where Cooper is in the grand scheme of things. So this is going to be the battle to watch, I think, over the next few laps. Can Harley hang on?
Oh dear, I'm seriously divided as to where I want the things to go in terms of championship, in terms of upset. But I think it would be great. I do like to root on the underdoggies, and I don't think Hawkeye would have thought that they would have been coming stonking in and having a win, hadn't seen how things have panned out for them this year. I think they'd have thought they'd have been a little bit higher up the constructors' table. Hawkeye currently sitting in 5th, having overtaken Torrent Motorsports and Nordzone last time out, and by doing this and scoring well again today, if they can, they will definitely leapfrog Red Archer and pop themselves into 4th, and kind of the best of the rest behind the CSG, Midnight and Nijo. Nijo quite quiet here in Silverstone, but Heasterbeek has ran that slightly different tyre strategy as Mark Fuller gets well out of the way, where he's been on the inters far more than almost every other driver out there, and Tom Vandervoort has been caught up in a few spins which has dropped him down the order. So I think Nijo have not quite shown it their best flavour, but with Nijo, if they continue to deal with that and Boldy and Hamnet can continue this kind of game, Hawkeye could very well be in the pound seats, as here comes Fiduk for his first little look at the Australian.
Gap down now from a whole second to merely 1/10 of a second in the space of pretty much one lap. Some traffic just at the wrong time, perhaps. It's actually Ranieri is now ahead of Hamlet, next car. He's getting well out of the way. Oh, a little cheeky dig of slipstream there, trying to gain every little advantage. But that gap's come right down, and Fiduk looks like he's just run a bit wide there at Cops. So that would have given him. I hear that Ranieri was just on the apex. Unfortunate, but that marker has to be somewhere on the track, unless they have magic ghosting powers. But the
that
gap
must
now
be sad for Ranieri to be lapped. It's a good effort, but when you think, oh, I could have been winning this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's perhaps just a show of how strong that midnight car is. Ranieri, he's no slouch whatsoever. He's clearly got that Kerno car singing. He's got the ability, but it just shows how quick these front runners are, and they've been battling as well. So as we are now that 51 of 52, we have Hamnet just ahead, 0.3 of a second, and we've got traffic in place. So time to put out bus, park it, and hope that no one gets on.
Round past what would be the end of Sector 1. Missilis gets out of the way beautifully. Hamnet says thank you very much. Get out of the way for Fiduk too. Yes, indeed he does. Always, when you're the first one that arrives on the scene, you do feel slightly disadvantaged because it wakes you up for all of the other cars that are behind. But Hamnet, it'll be interesting to see how these cars are set up straight line speed wise, because it's going to be down that hangar straight into Stowe will be the main place I'd think to have a go, and maybe down at turn 3. We've seen quite a lot of overtakes down there as well, so they would be my two stabberoos.
Exactly, and just watching the cars as they go through Maggots and Beckett's here, first of all you really notice the undulation, which you don't perhaps really see or think about much as that camera angle shows.
I think he's going to have a go.
I think he is as well. To my eye, I'm not sure if that Hawkeye's got a bit more wing, what the situation is, but he has got vulnerable on those straights. But he's come that line for now. He's going to go defensive in this club here. I can see, will he go around the outside? No, Fiduk thinking better of it. He lined it up. He's now getting the car sorted as we go around the final corner here. I believe onto our final lap of the race. Harley, you've got one lap to hold on. Keep going, mate. You're nearly there.
One final lap, 3 and a bit miles. What can Harley Hamnet from Australia do? Desperate for his first win in Super League. Desperate for Hawkeye's first win in Super League. It could be an first across all the boards, to be fair. Muscat's up ahead in a torrent. He may be playing a part towards the last couple of corners, but it's going to need for Harley Hamnet to be ahead, and he looked a little bit weak going round the entry to Luffield and then out of the exit of it. And Woodcote, let's see what he does.
A little bit of a lock-up, I think. Yeah, just a sneak of a lock-up. Just really leaving everything on the line, just trying to be that little bit later on the brakes to just give no option. As we go through Maggots and Beckett's, it's going to be all about getting a good exit. In fact, actually, Muscat, the back marker here, might be the saving grace. If Harley can get in that slipstream, he might be able to just cover off the approach to Stowe. Then he only has a few corners to go, but by the looks of it, he's caught him already. Muscat getting right out of the way. Fiduk's going, aha, free slipstream, I'll have a go at that. But by the looks of it, actually, that's not going to help him.
No, not at all.
Muscat
goes to the racing line. It puts Fiduk slightly off. He's going to have one last lunge. Hamnet sees it coming from a mile off and says, I don't think so. Covers the apex from the outside. Don't smack the inside curve, Harley Hamnet. And you've done well, my friend. Harley Hamnet wins the British Grand Prix for GPVWC Super League. The first win for Harley Hamnet, the first win for Hawkeye Racing, and the first non-Midnight and CSG win of 2014. Oh, how it's good to have a little bit of spicy flavour back in the GPVWC garage.
So some donuts being done for the fans there, I think well deserved, absolutely. And after an hour and 20 minutes of racing, the gap between first and second, just 2/10. So wonderful racing between these two. Great result for Harley. He's going to be over the moon with that. And it has to be said, as things were going, I think Cooper might have had that one sewn up in the early stages, but it's amazing with just one slight moment, not even caused by him, just wrong place, wrong time, and, well, everything's gone on its head. So, as things go, Harley's going to be over the moon. I think CSG, they've got a lot to be pleased with. They've got both cars home on podium positions, and the Midnight guys, very close behind as well. So, points all round, but as things go, CSG, they're going to eat that lead out even more.
Harley doing donuts at every single piece of blank tarmac that he can find. Excuse me, and well done to him. The finishing positions then, we've got Harley Hamnet that wins, and it's a CSG 2-3, Viaduct ahead of Redshaw. That will close in the championship gap down from 14 to 10 points. Then Alex Cooper, great return to Simracing at the Super League level. 4th position, ahead of Nick Rowland in 5. Ruud Heasterbeek, the last of the unlapped runners in 6th for Nijo, quietly going about his Inter's way. Gergo Baldi was in 7th for the second of the Hawkeyes, so great day for them. Mikhail Tumala, great for Green Stripes in 8th position. That equals his best of the season and the team's best of the season. In fact, no, it betters. It's just one behind what they got in Canada. But that's the 3rd top 10 that Tumala's managed this year. Davidas Vasilis is in 9th, 2 laps down for Red Archer, ahead of Giuseppe Ranieri. His first race for Kurnow in 10th, 2 down, and points on the board for that team, much deserved and needed. Tom van der Vault in 11th, 2 laps down for Nijo, really fading towards the end, ahead of Morten Vernonson, 12th for Vodball. 13th, Tommy Hagen, unfortunately faded in the Red Archer, but still collected some points, ahead of the 2 Torrents that were 2 and 3 laps down respectively. Peter Kaza ahead of Jason Muscat. I do believe that will be Jason Muscat's second points of the season. So a 3rd even. So he's been in and about. Kenny Liebeer then outside the points in 16th for Vodball, despite all of the promise there. Kieran Ryan 17th, 3 laps down after that great start, fading back. Roy Schroten 18th, also 3 down for Woods, so no points for him. Tom Jacobs finishes 4 laps down in 19th for Nordzone on his stand-in effort. Mark Fuller does get the ST home for a well-needed finish for them, 5 down. Your retirements, Mindergaus Columbus disconnected lap 43. Weeks crashed out lap 12. Asbury crashed out lap 9. Kermsey disconnected lap 6. Kovanen crashed on lap 6 as well. Richards retired with suspension issues from a crash on lap 3. Bryson didn't get over the start-finish line before he was in the wall, and poor old Augustin Canapino didn't even get round the formation lap.
What a race. I mean, so Austria was quite a spectacle just to see, obviously, the inter-team battles, but with weather and everything else, I'm struggling to think of I'm struggling to think of a single moment where there wasn't something happening. What a great race.
Was fabuloso indeed. We've just been joined actually by some of the podium celebrators. Hopefully we'll get all 3 in. But let's start off with our regular duo, the CSGs of Lewis Redshaw and David Filott. We'll start off with David, as he is Mr. Second in first. Mr. Second in first. He was none of those positions, was he? Yes, he was. You came home in second position. But talk to us through that race, because that was extreme highs and then a little bit of excursions as well.
Yeah, that was the hardest race I've done in sim racing. Not because of the wet, but mainly because Lewis and Alex were so quick, so you had to be on it every lap. The start was all right. Managed to stay P2 behind Alex. Just waiting for the rain to go. Before we could push harder on the options, and then once they did, I managed to save a few laps of tyres then Alex and Lewis, which helped me get the lead. That was the same for the second stop as well, and third. But yeah, that spin, I have no idea what it was. Alex had the same thing. We turned in and the back end just snapped. I don't think I was on the curve. I didn't take too much inside curb like I always do. It just went round, yeah, and just tried to hold it, and then looked at my mirror. Alex was spinning as well, so I thought maybe it was raining, but it wasn't. Got ahead in front of Lewis, I think, but we ended up making contact, so I lifted off and let him through. And then, thank God, again, I was softer on my tyres because they pitted quite early for the primes, which helped me get back in front of them. But then Harley, man, God knows where that pace come from, but that was incredible. I had a chance to do it second to last lap into the final turn, but yeah, he was quite late on the brakes. But yeah, another chance for a win, and I blew it again. But long way to go. And like confidence in the car is coming back with these upgrades. So yeah, disappointed but happy to be ahead of Lewis for the title, obviously.
And Lewis, obviously, quite a mad race in terms of weather and strategy. When you saw the rain as you were going out the garages to start the race, what was the first thought in your mind? Oh, blimey, let's get the wets on. Oh, right, we need to stick to the plan. What was the general thought process as the race went on?
I don't think I can actually say what we all said in the room when it started raining, when it started the race, but yeah, we weren't really expecting that. None of us had really driven this in the rain at all because we just thought it wouldn't rain. It's been lovely here in the UK for 2 weeks. How is it going to possibly rain? And then it did. You know, whatever, British weather and all that.
Yeah, as I actually said just before the race started, it's been lovely and sunny, but you never know with our weather, and well, I feel I may have cursed it. But anyway,
thank you so much.
You're wonderfully welcome. But great job, guys. Great points for the team, and well, as you said, all switcheroo as things go in the drivers. But pleased to say that we're joined by our race winner, and huge congratulations to Mr. Harley Hamnet. Harley, your emotions as we are now.
I don't know what to say, to be honest. My heart's still racing. I've had to clean my jocks 3 times since the race finished. Yeah, I don't know really what to say. I'm just amazed.
Woo, 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 woo.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think you should do that.
Woo!
Yeah.
You certainly gave some impressive donuts. I mean, even with the odd spin that we saw from Cooper and from Viaduct there, you were in the right place. You're always around the fight. The car clearly working well. Were you confident heading into the race for a good result, or were you just there to bring the car home and hopefully get some points?
I was confident in the car. I probably did the most testing I've done all year. Yeah, I was really just hoping for a top 5, to be honest. And halfway through the race, it looked like it was going to be probably 4th. And then I saw David and Alex spin at the same time, and I was just like, what the hell? I said to Andreas on TeamSpeak, what is going on here? So they put me into the lead, and then I just took off. I had to put my head down, told Andreas to shut up, and I just went on with it.
Well, it clearly worked, and yeah, it relished in that win. Well done.
Did you say, shut up, I know what I'm doing?
Yeah, pretty much did, yeah.
Harley equals new Kimmy. Just quickly, actually, with the kind of rise of Hawkeye that's kind of gone on recently. The car has always been there and thereabout throughout the season, but through both yourself and Baldy have had an incredible DNF rate. Now that seems to be starting to stop itself and sedate itself down, what do you then think of for the second half of 2014? What are your aspirations and things that you're thinking of that you'd like to do now?
Yeah, the car's come to us now. At the start of the season, we were pushing too hard as we didn't have the car under us, so we had a few mistakes. And now the car's with us. We're just taking our time, and hopefully we can get up into that top 4, top 3 position for the constructors. Other than that, yeah, we're not going to catch CSG in midnight, but I don't know, 3rd could be there.
And of the rounds we've got coming up then, Harley, obviously the car seems to be really well suited to the faster tracks. Are there any races coming up that you're looking forward to? But perhaps another chance of a podium or a win?
I like Hockenheim. That's one of my favourite tracks. Other than that, after that, I really don't like it. I don't like any of the tracks. You just have to see how it goes. Have to test them more like I did for this race, and hopefully it will get the result again.
Well, again, massive congratulations, Harley, and thank you, of course, to Harley, David, and Lewis for joining and giving some lovely interviews. Well done, everyone. Enjoy and bask in what is a very well and hard-fought podium finish for all of you at what has been a topsy-turvy GPVWC Superleague Grand Prix.
It has indeed, and it's just leaves us to say thank you ever so much for tuning in and watching, and we hope it was better than the poo ball that was going on. We don't like the foosballs, so yeah, let's kick that one off. And talking of kicking off, we'll be kicking off again this weekend because we've got 24 hours of Le Mans. All the men's will be there for 24 hours of joy. I'll be dragging you all kicking and screaming through all 24 hours of that. We're starting at 3 p.m. UK time. I don't know if we're doing qualifying or not. If we are, come and join in beforehand. Bring along your snacks, your drinks, your everything. We'll be doing takeaway bingo. We'll be getting probably quite drunk into the wee hours of the night. So it's always a good little communal chat. So come along and join in. It'll be great to have you all with us. My thanks goes to Cameron Brewster, who breaks his virginity on the cameraman extraordinaire front. Well done, well done, well done. Let's hope it wasn't too painful. Mint with a hole. And thank you as ever for coming back for Matt William. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Fun as always, and crikey, what a wonderful race we just had there. And hopefully Le Mans will be just as eventful, but hopefully in not such a way as I'm driving, and well, so is a lot of other people. So hopefully when the roles are reversed.
Good luck.
Yeah, I think we're going to need all the luck in the world.
Remember, tarmac equals good.
Yes.
Tarmac equals good. Well, until then, we shall see you at Le Mans, and if not, we'll see you for ITC the following week. And 2 weeks' time, we'll be over at Hockenheim for Formula Challenge, Super Cup and Super League. Until then, take care and bye-bye.